Okay, before we start this next video, I just thought it would enhance it a little bit if I reminded everyone what Spelunky is. Spelunky is a game about a human who falls underground and then has to fight his way through a bunch of underground caves filled with monsters, and at the end he manages to get out of this underground area. So everyone knows that now, we're all on the same page, so we can start the next episode. Hello everyone, this is Cinnamon Noir. Welcome to Spelunky. I've mentioned before I love Spelunky's soundtrack, and once again I just have to say this is a fantastic soundtrack we're listening to here. Really? That's so funny. I mean, this is the Spelunky soundtrack. You know. They're very similar games, you know. Spelunky, it's a game about a fallen human, isn't it? Yeah, maybe. Although one thing I've noticed... Yeah. So Greg, have you already figured out what's up? No. You're listening to the music, right? Does this sound like Spelunky's soundtrack to you? The one we've been listening to for the last, 45 minutes? No, it doesn't, does it? So yes, one of the great things about free games in general is that their files are very easy to access. In particular, music files. They're just OGG files, and they're just in a little folder labeled sound. So one of the things you can do with the game is that you can take your own music files, change the name so they sound like the files that the game's supposed to be referring to, get rid of the old sound files in the game, put in your own new ones, and then the game will play your music. Or in this case, Toby Fox's music. Anyway. So what's playing right now is the Ghost Battle theme. That is my favorite song from Undertale. I guess the one that plays during the fight with the Mad Dummy is a little bit better of a version of it. But of course that version is not in the demo, is it? And if I were going to use that music, I would have to go much deeper into the bounds of legally nebulous things. Or buy the soundtrack, both of which I'm not going to do. Toby Fox, please don't sue us. Really, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not doing much to your content. I'm just showing it off to best advantage. This stuff really works for an action game, don't you think? I know, I don't feel like he... First of all, he's never going to see this, let's be honest here. But anyway. Right. I would say Mr. Fox, please don't take this down, but he is actually younger than me, so I don't think that's appropriate. Oh yeah, Right. Did you see what just happened, by the way? Did you see what just happened? I jumped onto one of those little spike tiki traps. I jumped on top of it, and it killed me. So another way this game is like Undertale is that you can never tell whether or not it actually knows that you've been messing around with it. Anyway, but no, it's entirely possible that this game actually knows I monkeyed around with the music files. Now it's like, well, you know what? We're just going to kill your character for no reason. That's what you get for screwing around. The thing about Undertale is that while I find the pacifism element interesting from within the game, I don't like Toby Fox's comments on the rest of the industry that are outside the game. Where basically he describes every RPG as a murder fest, where it's like the whole idea is just to kill monsters. And I'm like, that's a very unfair characterization of RPGs. RPGs are so much more than just XP and random battles. Right. Ugh. Fez. Oh, sorry. Did I just let the cat out of the bag? Let the cough out of the bag? But no, I mean, Toby Fox knows this. He's a big fan of Earthbound. His first thing was an Earthbound hack. So, he knows Earthbound wasn't all about killing guys. Earthbound actually kind of was big on the subject of trying not to kill guys if you can avoid it. One of the most disturbing scenes in Earthbound happens early on when your fly companion Buzz Buzz gets stomped on by some housewife and killed. Yeah. That whole family sucks, the Minch family. And in fact, their obnoxious son, Porky, or Pokey as he's sometimes called, he ends up being the main antagonist of the game. And before a ton of comments say, no, wait, Gygus is the main antagonist of the game, I mean the main, like, intellectual antagonist of the game. Gygus is... Sorry, spoiler alert for that, like, 30-year-old game. Gygus is mostly, like, not self-aware. By the end of the game, he's become, like, this force of pure evil that Porky is trying to control. Earthbound's a really screwed up game. In fact, a lot of the things that seem really creepy in Undertale, taken directly from Earthbound. I mean, it's almost like Nintendo's trying to forget Earthbound exists. But one thing they did do, you know the new 3DSs? This latest boondoggle? The one thing that's good about them, and even that's debatable because it's a real marketing, jerk around, but they have made a bunch of classic Super Nintendo games available only to people who have the new 3DS. If you have the old 3DS, you're SOL. So these are classic games like Super Metroid, Earthbound, Super Mario World, some of my favorite games from my childhood. Naturally, I can't play them unless I trade in for a new 3DS, which would cost me at least another $100. I'm not going to do that just to play some SNES games that I played through my whole childhood. But the thing is, Nintendo knows some people will do that. Especially when those people have SNESs that have already stopped working. No, to me that was a really obnoxious thing. And Nintendo's justification for it was ridiculous. Most obviously spurious reasoning I've ever heard. They said that the 3DS as it is couldn't handle the processing power to play these games. Yeah. And I'm like, the Game Boy Advance had power that was comparable to the SNES. That was 2 generations before the 3DS even, let alone this new 3DS. You're seriously telling me that a Game Boy Advance couldn't play Super Mario World? That's really funny, because a version of Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, which was even more complicated than Super Mario World, came out for the Game Boy Advance. No, it's blatant money spinning. And, it's funny to me. I never thought that I would have a similar attitude toward Nintendo as Yahtzee, but I'm starting to. Oh, I wanted to show this off. Look what happens when you blow up Kali's altar. Spiders. Spiders everywhere. If you do it twice, if you're stupid enough to do that, you get a ball and chain wrapped around your leg. This ball and chain keeps you from jumping, and the only way to get anywhere when you have it on is to pick it up. And then you can move normally. So basically it completely interferes with your ability to pick stuff up and use it. You have to be pretty dumb to blow up those altars twice in a row, though. If you do it 3 times, a ghost immediately appears on screen. I'm trying to kill you. The ghost will also appear if you spend too much time dawdling in one level. You know how in some earlier videos, when I was moving a bit slow, the music slowed down? I should have had that happen here, then we'd hear the Undertale music at a certain speed. Did you know that a certain track later on in Undertale is a track from earlier in the game played at 666% speed? Creepy, isn't it? Anywho. Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about the thriving Earthbound ROM community, of which Toby Fox is a part. Remember, he made an Earthbound ROM hack. You can't do that legally. All ROM hacks are illegal. But anyway. It's funny, they always tread a very thin line. I was really annoyed here. I blew up that fish to get several crates for tools. They were all ropes. I have a jetpack now. I don't need the ropes. You've done something wrong. Oh, I agree completely. Greg, I have economics training. I have thought quite a bit about patents, and one of my opinions is that people who sit on intellectual property or patents are scum. No one should sit on this stuff. The whole reason we let them copyright it and patent it is so they can use it. Usually individuals don't do this. Businesses will do it. Holding companies will be formed specifically for the purpose of buying up patents and sitting on them, which is a blatant abuse of our patent laws. But anyway. So yes, I'm very firmly of that opinion. If a company refuses to use the intellectual property, they should set it free. I recognize their right to hold it, but I don't think they should. Anyway, that's my opinion. But it's interesting, these people tread such a careful line with this. So the people who made the Mother 3 fan translation, I'm sure you've heard of this, right? Mother 3, which is the sequel to Earthbound, was never released in the West. After the really lukewarm reception of Earthbound, thanks to Nintendo's marketing ineptitude, including an ad campaign with the prominent line, "This game stinks." Did you hear about that? It was a scratch and sniff page. So it was a joke. This game stinks. But they didn't realize apparently how stupid that was. By the way, listen to the music now. This is like my second favorite song from Undertale. Anyway. I should have used it in the ruins where there were skeletons, but whatever. I can't think of all this stuff. So I was going to say, Mother 3 was a Game Boy Advance game. It was never made available outside of Japan. And there was this huge outcry to Nintendo. People were like, please localize this game, we'll buy it, we'll play it. There just were never enough people, or maybe Nintendo just didn't want to go to the trouble, so they never did. So instead, a bunch of fans got together, found a ROM on the internet, and they made a translated patch. They localized the entire game. Their localization, by the way, is really good. It's really funny and interesting. It's as good as the Earthbound localization was, maybe even better. But on their page, they say, well, this is a fan translation of Mother 3. We don't know how you would get access to a copy of Mother 3 in Japanese, but just assuming you do, this patch will translate it. They had to say that because they couldn't make any reference to getting a ROM on the internet. What they were offering was technically not illegal, but it was useless without something that was illegal, which was a ROM. I guess it's also kind of like those riff tracks things when people comment over a movie. Those things don't violate copyright at all. They're just voices talking over something. You know, like the audio files that you and I make. But you need to have the movie, and some people tend to rip that off. So for the temple, I thought I'd choose the ruins theme. I thought it was appropriately, somber. And it is a very pretty theme. There's not actually that much piano in the Undertale soundtrack, but this is one of the better piano themes. I'm also demonstrating these mummy guys you can kill by jumping on their heads. It just takes a very long time. But with my jetpack, blowing them up's much easier. They actually die to one bomb. Yeah, I know. The thing is, these guys maneuver around so much that unless you have sticky bombs, it's a really tricky proposition to get them lined up properly. Not to mention these guys. Imagine trying to kill one of these hoppy bastards with a bomb. They won't stay in one place. Like, stay here while I blow you up. I don't blame them. I wouldn't respond to that proposition. So yeah, anyway. It's kind of funny, actually. I mentioned that thing in Undertale earlier with the 666. Since those guys have 200 HP and they lose 30 every second, they live for exactly 6.66 seconds. Well, technically they live for 6.666666666666. Kill your family. 666 seconds. Repeated. What are you laughing at, Greg? You know what? Never mind. Just turn this video off right now so the evil can't get to you. Parents said gamer culture was evil, and they were right. Anyway. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Different generations have different forms of entertainment, and sometimes people are more engaged in them, and sometimes they're not. Back when people played LP records, I have the feeling they probably screwed around with them a lot. Played them at the wrong speed or backwards. You can't do that with our forms of entertainment. They're all digital. I'd like to play a YouTube video at, 45 RPM. That's one thing I like about records. I'm not really a hipster, but I do enjoy playing vinyl records sometimes, just because you can screw around with them. And I've noticed some interesting things. For instance, you know the Byrds? That rock band? Well, their songs often sound very nice, but if you speed their songs up to 45 RPM, they all sound like the themes to sitcoms from the 70s. It's weird. It's like, hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. It's like, this song was meant to be played slow. When it's played fast, it just seems hokey. Patton Oswalt has a joke where he talks about when you play the chipmunk, you know, the chipmunks, but at a speed where it's just the guys' normal voices. They sound like the most bored, detached people in the entire universe. Because that's what they were. They had to sing so slowly for the chipmunk pitch voice to be a normal speed that they sound horrifying when you actually listen to the real voices. The only thing I can think of that people have done like that recently is Neurotically Yours, the Foamy the Squirrel things. With those, he pitches up his voice, but I don't think he speeds it up. He just does a pitch up. Yeah, I know, this is really fascinating chat. Audio manipulation chat. Stay tuned for our microphone comparison podcast with special guest Ira Glass. My mic doesn't suck. Now my mic's all offended it's cutting out. I'm so upset. I got this mic as a birthday present. It's great. It's okay. My mic don't like laughing. He gets the crazy idea you're laughing at him. Now if you apologize, like I know you're going to. You know, I never wondered about this before, but I have to wonder now. That volcano was erupting, and there was lava, like, all through it. How the heck is the Spelunker's skin not roasted off? By the way, this victory music here is the menu music from the Undertale demo. I also forgot to mention the Olmec fight was the Toriel fight, which is sort of the cap to the Undertale demo. And I do one more thing in this particular Let's Play. So, since I did some modding of my own with the sound files, I thought I would also show off some of the modding other people have done. Spelunky was a very open source game. In fact, the level creation mechanisms are very simple. So, what people have done is that they've created their own custom levels for Spelunky. So when you go to the main menu and you press the... Underheard. When you press the third function key while you're in the main menu, you pull up the level loader, where you can load up any of the levels people have. I load up Aquarium. So this sign says, "Do it, I dare you. You have one bomb," and guess what it wants you to do? Blow this joint. No, you blow them all up. And the best part is, the big fish don't die immediately. So you can see them just blow up into tons of little parts. Yeah, this is not a particularly cleverly designed level. So, in Spelunky, whenever you complete a custom level, you get this special screen. Yeah, I'm confused too. This character is affectionately known as the Walrus Lady by fans. And this was made by Derek Yu, by the way, specifically for custom levels. It wasn't made by any of the custom level people. Why not? You're completing weird levels, end off with something weird, you know. Derek Yu is great. I just want to close in saying, Derek Yu is probably the only games designer I know of who has made an oil painting of Christopher Walken. Gives you an idea of what kind of man he is. A great man. Isn't it? It's so cool. I love you, Derek Yu. And you too, Toby Fox. Yes. And Tiny Tim. Good night, everybody.